Once again, brothers and sisters, it is good to be with you, and all praises to the Most High. I'm your host, the Apostle Reuben of IUPR Bible Radio, podcasting out of Little Rock, Arkansas, to the true saints of the Most High God. Well, brothers and sisters, we're at birthdays again. We're here. When I found out that I was a Israelite, we're talking about the seed. Every custom, every practice I studied. And one of the customs and practices I studied was birthdays. Who was actually celebrating their birthday according to the Bible? And when I found out who, I stopped. But you know, everybody that attaches Israel to the back of their first name is not Israel. Because what they do is chapters and verses they choose to block out, but they want to call themselves Israelites. Now let's begin here. I want to show you this. The book of Genesis 40 and 20. And it came to pass the third day, which was Pharaoh's birthday. There it is. Here's where birthday is mentioned. Here it is, Pharaoh. Now what is Pharaoh? He's a Hamite. In other words, a Gentile. Now, I didn't see Abraham celebrate his birthday, but I saw Pharaoh, a Hamite, celebrate. We're reading it now. And it came to pass the third day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, the day he was born, that he made a feast unto all his servants. And he lifted up the head of the chief butler and of the chief baker among his servants, because one of them was spared, but the other two died. But notice, on Pharaoh's birthday, he made a feast unto all his servants, all of them that were in his house. He made a feast. So on Pharaoh's birthday, he made a feast. This is exactly what you see today. A lot of food on a table on somebody's born date. This is exactly what you see right now. But what people don't understand is that the heathen that knew not God did this. The heathen that knew not God did this. They were celebrating their birthday way back in Genesis, the opening book of the Bible. So this is an ancient practice done by heathen. Heathen. I'm not going to admit that it didn't happen, but heathen, as we look back at this Hamite. And it came to pass the third day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, a Hamite's birthday, that he made a feast unto all his servants. Now, what we're going to do, brothers and sisters, is we're going to see this from Edom. This same thing we're going to show you the Caucasian did. He did the exact same thing according to the Bible. So when we go back to the book of Mark, let's go to Mark chapter 6. Mark chapter 6. Verse 20. For Herod feared John, knowing that he was a just man and an holy, and observed him, watched him. And when he heard him, he did many things, and heard him gladly. This is Herod. Herod is an Edomite. And when a convenient day was come, Herod on his birthday, made a supper or a feast to his lords, high captains, and chief estates of Galilee. So again, we see on the birthday of the Gentile, he makes a feast for everybody to come to. He makes the same feast you see here. A Gentile's doing this now. And the Gentile that is doing this is him. Caucasians in the time of Christ celebrated birthdays like the ancient Egyptians did. So we know the heathen that know not God, they celebrated birthdays. Now, see this is how we know. See, they look at this. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 10. Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 25. Pour out thy fury upon the Gentiles that know thee not, and upon the families that call not on thy name, for they have eaten up Jacob. See, this is one of the things. See, eating up Jacob is an example we're going to see in this podcast episode, this short podcast episode. We're going to see how we are being eaten up by the Gentile, the heathen, and consumed him. We have made his habitation desolate. See, it's ongoing. As many people die in a lie, that's the desolation of the people. But most of us who call ourselves Israelites don't understand that. The Gentiles didn't know the law of God. So what they were doing was what they were doing. That's why it says in Jeremiah, when we go back up to Jeremiah 10, it says this: Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen. Learn not the way of the heathen, because the heathen didn't know God. And be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the Gentiles are dismayed at them. So we wasn't supposed to learn the way of the heathen, and the heathen was celebrating birthdays. You see, in two places. But we're going to go to another place, but I'm going to show you again the book of Mark. Let's go back to the book of Mark, chapter 6. Showing you who was celebrating birthdays. No, Mark 6:21, not 31. I don't know how I got. Excuse me, brothers and sisters. And when a convenient day was come, that Herod on his birthday made a supper to his lords, high captains, and chief estates of Galilee. Birthday. The heathen, we know, are celebrating the birthdays. Point blank. So we're going to go back to the book of Job, because the reason why, brothers and sisters, is because and mostly women with kids fall for this, because the kids want to celebrate their birthdays and no. See, what you're looking at is an example of what Christians do. Let's get the book of all right. I had to do something, brothers and sisters. Excuse me for a second. I have to pause here. Make sure I got this right. All right. Okay. The book of Job. Chapter 1. We're going to read verse 4 down. And his sons, Job's sons, went and feasted in their houses. Notice the word feasted. Feasted in their house, everyone his day, his day. Now, most people say, well, it was just his day that the feast was there. It was the day the feast was. What proof would you have? What proof would you have to say that his day was just a day he had a feast? Nothing. They have nothing. But we have it. So we're going to go to Job 3. Job 3:1. It says, after this opened Job his mouth and cursed his day. Now what I want out of this is the next verse, 2 verses, is going to tell you what his day is. It's going to tell you. After this, Job opened his mouth and cursed his day. And Job spake and said, let the day perish wherein I was born. All I wanted was born. His day is the day he was born. That's what his day is. Born. His day was the day he was born. So when we go back to Job, I'm just going to read it all again. After this, Job opened his mouth and cursed his day. And Job spake and said, let the day perish wherein I was born, and the night in which it was said, there is a man child conceived. Even my conception I cursed. But what we wanted was, I was born. His day, when he says he cursed his day, it was the day in which he was born. That's his day. So when we go back to Job chapter 1, Job chapter 1, verse 4, and his sons went and feasted. Notice they feasted just like the Gentiles feasted. It was a feast. That's what the Bible records, feasts and suppers on their days. This lets us know that it's the birthday. His day is the day they were born, and his sons went and feasted in their houses, every one his day, the day he was born, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. You can't run from this. If you don't want to give up birthdays, keep them. But if it costs you your eternal life, don't try to make others. See, the thing about it, brothers and sisters, is I'm not going to try to make people remain in sin with me. If I can't get over it, I'm by myself with it. I'm still going to tell the truth about the Bible. Birthdays were not celebrated by the true Hebrews. It was celebrated by Gentiles, heathen, those that are not going to get into the kingdom. It was a self-worship to the day you was born. Look at this. And it was so, when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them. He sent and sanctified them and rose up early in the morning. He had to cleanse them. Why is this? What if they were feasting on a day? Then why is Job doing this act? Why is Job doing this act here? If they're just, I mean, if look at what you're reading. And his sons went and feasted in their houses, every one his day. His day was the day he was born. It was written, it told you, chapter and verse. And sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them. And it was so, when the days of their feasting was gone about, their feasting. Why didn't Job go? That's the question. Why didn't Job go to the feasting? These Christians, these ignorant. Why didn't he go? That's the question I'd like to know. Why didn't Job go? And it was so, when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. All his sons he offered a burnt offering. For Job said it may be my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. Thus did Job continually. What does it mean? What does it mean to curse God? Let's see if I can find a verse to show. Leviticus 24. Verse 10. And the son of an Israelitish woman whose father was an Egyptian went out among the children of Israel on this son of the Israelitish woman, and the man of Israel strove together in the camp. And the Israelitish woman's son blasphemed, which is sinned, the name of the Lord, and cursed and sinned, blasphemed the name of the Lord and cursed. And they brought him unto Moses, and his mother's name was Shelemith, the daughter of Debri, the tribe of Dan. So this was an example. Cursed just meant sinned. That's why when we go back to Job, blasphemy is the same as sin. Blasphemy is the same as sinned. And so we're going to show you that. We're going to show you Ezekiel, that blasphemy means sin. Ezekiel 20. I'm just going to show you that blasphemy means sin, so you'll know. Ezekiel 20:27. Therefore, son of man, speak unto the house of Israel, and say unto them, thus saith the Lord God, yet in this your fathers have blasphemed me. How they do it? And that they have committed a trespass against me. When you blaspheme God, you sinned against him. That's all that is. Blasphemed him means to sin against him. So when we go back to Job chapter 1, something's wrong here. Job 1, verse 5. And it was so, when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them. For what? Why? And offered burnt offerings. Burnt offerings are sin offerings, according to the number of them all. For Job said, it may be that my sons have sinned. Sinned how? What is it? How? What indication do we have? What indication? Come on now. They may have sinned. How? Everyone having a feast on his day, meaning that it wasn't a custom for you to do. Not an Israelite anyway. That's why you don't see Israelites doing the custom of feasting on their day. It was never given as a law. There was no other reason for them to have cursed God in their hearts by sinning unless it was a reason. And the only reason there was because they feasted on their own day, which was their birthday. You can't get around this, Christians. The only ones that want to keep celebrating their birthday are those that are half-baked and will never go any further. That's why when people come up to me talking about the book of Joshua, the book of Enoch, the book of this, the book of that, you can't even get the 66 books down, but you're trying to move to other books. Brothers and sisters, they can't even quote 5% of the Bible, and they're interested in other books. They're the ones that get carried away. See, when you look at this, when you look at the book of Ephesians, that's why Paul warns us. Ephesians chapter 4. I don't care if they get mad at me, brothers and sisters. I'm going to read this book. That's why it says in Ephesians 4:14, that we henceforth be no more children tossed to and fro and carried away with every wind and doctrine. Somebody came and told most of these people that, hey, well, ain't nothing wrong with the birthdays. You can celebrate. See, those are the half-baked. They're not going anywhere. They're going to disappear soon because they avoiding chapter and verse. Every wind and doctrine by the sleight of men and cunning craftiness whereby they lie in wait to deceive, like having you think it's okay to celebrate your birthday. No, it was never. The heathen did it as a practice worshiping themselves. It wasn't done by Israel. Show me an Israelite doing it. They can't do that. They can't show us Israel doing it, but they claim to be Israel and want to keep heathen practices. Next thing you know, they're going to be keeping Easter, Christmas, baby, they dog, they cat, they birthday. They're going to keep them all. Eventually they're going to drop out. All 90% of those that claim to be Israel are going to drop out. Only 10% and less is going to keep on going. You have to stand up against iniquity. So when Job, again, if I'm looking at Job 3, these Christians are not going to change. They can't change it. What's written. After this, opened Job his mouth and cursed his day. You see that? His day. Verse 3. Let the day perish when I was born. The day he was born was his day. And when we go back to Job chapter 1, you can't deny his day was the birthday. That's what you see according to the book. And his sons went and feasted in their houses. Every one his day. What is his day? The day he was born. The day was his. It was his day. And sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them. Why didn't they call Job their father? Why didn't Job get invited? Think about this, brothers and sisters. Why didn't Job go? Job was the father. Don't your father come to your birthday gatherings? What you used to do. Didn't the father come along with the mother? Come, mother, father, to my birthday. Why didn't Job go? Because he didn't. He knew. That's why it says, and it was so when the days of their feasting were gone about, Job sent and sanctified them, the sons, and rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, it may be that my sons have sinned. How did they sin? When they celebrated everyone their day, like the heathen did. Birthdays was a heathen practice, and it was sin to do, according to Job 1, 4, and 5. The Christians try to attack this verse, but they can't. The only reason why Job made burnt offerings, according to the number of them, and said, it may be that my sons have sinned. How did they sin? Where can we go to see? Where is it at? Where in the chapter can we say that Job's son sinned? The only place is up in verse 4 when everyone celebrated, feasted on their day, which is their birthday. That is what it's talking about. That's all that's there. That's all that's there. But the Christians will avoid these things in order to keep on doing their birthdays. And now we know that 80 to 90% of our Hebrew brothers are going to do the same. They know they're Hebrews, but they're going to keep these feasts because they're ashamed. They can't stand up. They're in hiding too much. I don't care where it is. You have to stand up. That's why it says in Ecclesiastes, and I'm going to be real with you, brothers and sisters. I'm going to be real with you. Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 1. I want y'all to pay attention to this. Look at this now. A good name is better than precious ointment. What is a good name? What is a good name? Proverbs. We're going to read these things. Proverbs. It says, a good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, and loving favor rather than silver and gold. So a good name is better than riches, and loving favor rather than silver and gold. Oh, loving favor. Well, who's going to get the favor? Who's going to get the favor? That's going to show you the person with that good name. Who's getting the favor? Proverbs 14 and 9. Fools maketh a mock at sin, but among the righteous there is favor. The righteous are the law keepers. The law keepers get the favor. The law keepers get the favor. We don't know. And when we go back to Proverbs 3, these Christians, oh my goodness, these Christians come back here and try to read the Old Testament. Proverbs 3 and 3. Let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Where does mercy and truth come from? Psalms 25 and 10. We're going to show you where mercy and truth comes from. Psalms 25 and 10. This is how we know that this world is made to destroy God's true people. I'm just reading this. All the paths of the Lord are mercy and truth unto such as keep his covenant and his testimonies. So mercy and truth is given to those that keep the law. Mercy and truth come from the keeping of the law. So we get Proverbs 3. Let's settle this. Proverbs 3 and verse 3. Let not mercy and truth forsake thee, because mercy and truth is given because of the law. That's why it says bind them are the laws about thy neck, and write them upon the table of thine heart. They were putting the commandments in the heart way before Jeremiah 31:31. So shall thou find favor and good understanding in the sight of God and man. So when you let not mercy and truth forsake you, which comes from keeping the law, you're going to find favor. Christians read this and don't know that the favor comes from the keeping of the law. We're proving who the favor goes to. So when we go back to Proverbs, man, y'all got Proverbs chapter 22 and 1. A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches. I don't care about money. I want that good name. And loving favor. The favor goes to who? The law keeper. That is how they got the good name. The law keeper is the good name, because that's who gets the favor. and loving favor. Favor comes from God to those that keep the law, rather than silver and gold. So the favor of God to the good name is better than money, but not to everybody. Not to everybody. Not to everybody. See, these ignorant pastors, man, I'm telling you, these false pastors, all of these pastors, money meant more to them than the knowledge of God. And they're popping the birthday caps and eating the feast every time. But look at this though. Let's go back to the book of Ecclesiastes 7:1. We're going to show you something. Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 1. A good name is better than precious ointment, and the day of death than the day of one's birth. So according to this verse, the day of death is better than your birthday. Why are we sad on funerals when it's better than one's birth? The Bible says your death day is better than your birthday. Do you see that, you so-calls? Let's stop the games. Let's stop the games. Why does it say, and the day of death than the day of one's birth? The book of Proverbs chapter 14. This is why it says the day of death is better than one's birth. Watch this, Proverbs 14, verse 32. We're going to show you why the day of death is better than your birth. Proverbs 14:32. The wicked is driven away in his wickedness, but the righteous, which is the lawkeeper, hath hope in his death. That's why when you keep the law, your death is better than your birth, because you know once you die, the next time you're resurrected, you're going to be in the kingdom. Those that celebrated their birthday will not. You think you're going to keep a heathen custom and make it to the kingdom? You are deceived. You are deceived. The righteous, we have hope in our death because we kept the law. That's the only one who has hope in their death, the righteous. It doesn't say a sinner has hope in his death. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that. When I see verses like this, Ecclesiastes 7:1 one more time. Seven, verse 1. A good name is better than precious ointment, and the day of death than the day of one's birth. So according to Solomon, the day of death is better. That's why he says, and the day of death than the day of one's birth. Who worries about the birthdays when you're striving for the kingdom to bring your works before God, and you die in this truth to be resurrected from the dead, while others want to try to make an excuse on how to celebrate their day? That's crazy. That's immature. Those are children. But look at what they did. They went to the book of Matthew. The book of Matthew chapter 2. The book of Matthew chapter 2. Where do I want to go? Here we go. Matthew 2:11. And when they were come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. So they say, see, he received presents. No. It wasn't on no birthday. I don't see birthday in this verse. I don't see birth at all in this verse. presents were given. They came to worship him and gave him gifts. This doesn't say anything about no birthday. Plus, it wasn't, when you see the young child, Christ had turned 2 years old. He was born 2 years. They bought gifts way after. It wasn't the day he was born. Hey, come on now. It was not the day he was born they bought the gifts. They bought the gifts when he was a child. He had already lived a long time before they bought the gifts. When you can't give up heathen practices, you make excuses, and you cause people to sin because you can't give it up. Heathen celebrated birthdays. You will not find the people of God doing it. And if you claim to be the people of God, you're not going to do it either. But if you want to try to sneak in and do Gentile practices, then leave Israel and go be a Gentile. Don't try to remix this thing. And with that, brothers and sisters, all praises. May God be with you. To those that like the worship of the heathen, as it says in, see, this is why we know. 1 Corinthians chapter 12. And I'm going to let you go. 1 Corinthians 12. In verse 1. Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant. Paul's brethren were Israelites according to Romans 9, 3, and 4. We know. Ye know that ye were Gentiles carried away unto these dumb idols, even as ye were led. And 9 times out of 10, when they were Gentiles, carried it to the dumb idols, they were doing what they were doing. And the dumb idols that Paul was talking about were these. The idols that these people made, because they were the ones celebrating their birthday, as it reads in Mark 6:21. And with that, brothers and sisters, all praises. May God be with you. Keeping it fully by chapter and verse, no other way. Peace and blessings, brothers and sisters, and all praises.